Hi, this is Larry Hatch in another episode of 10 New and Modern Words for Success and Better Communication. Today's first term is sort of an adjective and a noun, and it's a evergreen video. And that's basically a film, a video, which is likely to have enduring popularity over a long period of time, which nowadays is maybe a year or two. Not quickly outdated, and thus generating hits and money for an extended period of time, such as on YouTube. And it's part of the broader concept of evergreen content, where content is valuable for a very long period of time. For example, if you did a biography on John F. Kennedy or Nelson Mandela, you could play that every year for the next 50 years, and people would appreciate it. On YouTube, it's often, videos are often very ephemeral and short-lived because they react to current events that we forget about, or just trivial personal things that nobody's going to be interested in a year from now. But an evergreen video is one almost by design that will have long-term appeal and, generate attention and money and that sort of good thing. Metrosexual is not somebody who has sex on the metro train, any more than an autosexual is somebody who has sex in a car. But anyway, a metrosexual is a term. I think it's about 20 years old, and but it's come back again, sort of, and it's used more widely. It's not as offensive a term. There was a time when anything with the word sex in it was, don't say that. But now it's kind of accepted term. And instead of a man, usually a young urban heterosexual, it has nothing to do with sex per se, who spends a significant amount of time and money on very fastidious, meticulous personal grooming products, lotions, hair care products, beauty treatments, and fashion. It's almost a polite way of saying this heterosexual guy is primping himself like the stereotypical gay man. And we all know not all gay men are that fastidious, but hey, some are. But it's a stereotype. So a metrosexual is a guy who'd probably buy all the latest products for his hair, his body, his beard. He's gonna, when he shaves, he's gonna use, a pre-shave, and then an aftershave, and then a lotion, and then a perfume or cologne after that. So just the act of shaving might involve 5 different products, and he's very meticulous in his appearance. And it doesn't imply the man is handsome, but I guess for some of us, maybe we should maybe lean a little more towards this than our traditional guy ways. The next term is a Judar. You've heard the term gaydar, where gay people can spot each other, supposedly. That's almost a joke and possibly offensive, and certainly offensive to some people. And Judar, again, is a potentially derogatory, offensive term. But when Jewish people use it, I kind of laugh along with them. And it's the alleged ability of Jewish people to detect and sense or identify other people who are also Jews, that is, Jewish radar. And, I'll just leave it at that. So it's not a term that non-Jews should probably be using, but, I've known a couple of Jewish friends who will say that, and, it's a little bit humorous. And, frankly, they're frequently right. Li-Fi. We all know what Wi-Fi is. We get that in our homes and in our businesses and in a coffee shop or restaurant. Heck, even a 7-Eleven type store nowadays, convenience store. Some bathrooms, public bathrooms have it, like your, tweeting while you're on the pot. But anyway, Li-Fi is a different technology. It's a wireless technology similar to Wi-Fi, but it transmits data using only light. It's typically two things. It used to be infrared. We had infrared 20 some years ago, and it didn't always work. You kind of point something at your computer, and it may or may not work. If you were smoking or something, it might interfere. If you moved your hand a little bit, it might not work. Now, obviously, we know remote controls for our TVs and media, they generally use infrared. Not always, but generally infrared. That's why there's these little sensors around them. Now, they don't transmit anywhere near as amount of data as Li-Fi would. Li-Fi is literally pumping a movie or the internet to your device with light. Besides infrared, there's now LEDs. I heard about an airline that has LEDs on the back of the seats, and you can just hook your laptop up to that somehow. I'm not really sure how. I guess they have probably an adapter, because none of them, I have 4 laptops, and none of mine accept any kind of light signal directly. I know you can pump Li-Fi through like a fiber optic cable, but I think generally the term is used for a more direct wireless connection, not a wired fiber optic connection. So anyway, we'll probably see more of Li-Fi. There's some advantages to that, but you can research that if you're interested. The next term is an adjective, post-consumer. Sometimes we hear post-consumer waste, post-consumer content, post-consumer recycling, so I'll kind of lump those together. It's said of a manufactured or processed product which contains recycled material or former waste. Well, yeah, it was waste, often expressed as a percentage. So, like if you get a plastic bag at a grocery store, they might say, hey, this is 80% post-consumer. It was made out of water bottles, soda bottles, other plastic packaging. Sometimes you'll see like paper bags at a store, and they'll say, oh, it's 40%, byproducts of pulp and paper. And that generally gives you some idea as to, how economically or ecologically or environmentally responsible the manufacturer is. Don't expect the numbers to be too high because, if they're 40 or 50%, that's certainly an improvement over the past. Now, we certainly do get to products that are 100% post-consumer. For example, you can buy kind of a rubber mat, like a doormat, or rubber tiles, for the floor, that are made out of old tires. We got a really big problem with millions and millions of tires around the world, and they found a way to recycle those, despite all the belts and steel and all that in them. They found a way to recycle those into rubberized tiles or mats or materials. So that's another thing to look forward to. The next term is IoT, or Internet of Things. That's been around better part of a decade, at least popularly, and I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was kind of a buzzword. Well, it sort of is a buzzword, but it's turned into something very, very serious. And it's basically a network of interconnected objects or machines, such as appliances, communication devices, toys, watches, sensors, even clothes nowadays, which share data either with each other or the internet for the benefit of the owner. I saw a cartoon the other day. The guy says, well, I realized I had too many gadgets when I became Facebook friends with my toaster. Hopefully, your appliances aren't getting on Facebook and with a life of their own. But anyway, I recently jumped into that world. I bought an Amazon microwave oven that's controlled by Alexa, and you can say, Alexa, cook for 3 minutes at 5 power, half power, and then another 2 minutes at full power. It kind of works, but if I can just push the button 2 times, that's a lot easier than you know formulating some grammar, at least for me. But it's an interesting thing, and I think it's going to have some potential on that. A very popular high-end IoT device would be one of these new smart refrigerators. Some have a camera, and you can literally see what's in your refrigerator from your phone. So when you're shopping, you can say, "Oh, geez, I'm out of lettuce and I'm out of milk," and oh, oh, yeah, we don't have enough apples for the week. So you can literally look in your fridge through your cell phone. Some of them actually have barcode readers on the front, and that's where they are connected to the internet. So if you need a particular product, you can literally scan the barcode of that product, assuming you still have the original packaging, that is. And that's a problem. You got a bag of apples. Do you have a code to scan for that? Well, I guess we maybe need to keep those stickers, right? Anyway, and then the barcode will send your order to, I don't know, Amazon, Whole Foods, whoever, your favorite grocery delivery service. And either you'll pick them up or they'll be delivered to you. A third thing that these refrigerators do is they weigh things. You put your carton of eggs or carton of milk, usually those two, on a little pad, and it tells you when your milk is low or when it detects that there's almost no weight in the egg carton. I joked with a salesman. I said, well, if it can tell me when the milk is sour but half full, then I'll buy one. Or if the eggs are spoiled or cracked, I'll buy one. But anyway, this is kind of new technology that's coming out, and microwaves and refrigerators are impacting our kitchen a great deal more than we thought they probably would. Re-traumatizing. Now, it's the act of causing new or renewed anxiety, fear, or negative emotions, trauma, basically, after a severe event has occurred, often revisiting that event in an undesirable way. There's a lot of examples about that, but people have personal traumas, PTSD, accidents, physical ailments of a serious nature, and sometimes people are insensitive and they bring those things up again, not in a positive or holistic way, but in a negative way. And sometimes we're not ready for that, so these things re-traumatize us. That's one thing about the human mind, is we have a way of setting things aside or forgetting about things, so they cause less pain. And sometimes another person will be insensitive in the way they bring up the event, and so on. Our next term is intrapreneurial. It's an adjective, and it's like entrepreneurial, but it's a group of people, a development unit, a business unit within a larger organization or corporation, often a big corporation, which functions with a general autonomy. They're self-directed generally, with independence and freedom, as if they were a private entrepreneur or small business. We all admire small businesses and how creative they are and how productive. And corporations said, well, geez, why can't we just have a couple of small businesses within our big business? That would be kind of brilliant, right? And people did experiments, and wow, some of them actually worked. One of those would be like the Lockheed Skunk Works, although that was not a tiny unit. They had billions of dollars, but it was a very small, focused group of people. I think some of the groups had as little as 10 or 20 engineers in them. And entrepreneurialism is one way to kind of jumpstart a corporation who maybe is hard to turn around and is a little bit set in their ways. Maybe you bring in some new employees. Maybe put 5 new employees and 5 old employees together and say, hey, this is your unit. Come back to us in 6 months or a year with this product. You could even do 2 such units who don't know about each other and see who comes up with a better product. It's a very creative way of giving people freedom within an organization that normally doesn't have a lot of freedom as a individual business owner would have. A gold star is said of a gay man or lesbian who has never had sexual relations with a person of the opposite gender. In other words, they've only had gay or lesbian sex. I guess it's kind of used as a joke maybe, but I don't know enough about it to really comment. But it's out there and you'll hear it, so I figured I better add it to the list of terms. And it pretty much expresses somebody who's not experimented with the opposite gender and sort of knew from the start, they wanted to be exclusively one orientation. And I'm not going to say preference because I understand the word preference is somewhat offensive, so let's say orientation. Food porn, nothing to do with sex, although it maybe has the appeal of sex. It's a glamorized, often exaggerated image or presentation, usually visual and bright, of culinary dishes, food, to create temptation and marketing appeal. They're often used in reviews or advertisement. It's sort of like, hey, McDonald's has this new burger, and the ketchup is glowing red, the mustard is glowing orange, the burger is sizzling. Somehow it's sizzling after somebody's taken 9 bites out of it. The pickles are green, the tomatoes are fresh, the bun is huge, and usually it's a little more colorful and juicy and appealing than it might be in real life. And then you get the burger and you're like, they just gave me this little lump in a foil packet. That's the thing I saw on TV. I'm not picking up McDonald's because everybody kind of does it. I gotta say that I got one of these. I don't mean a lot of hamburgers, but I did get one of these Whoppers, these bacon and cheese Whoppers from Burger King, and that thing was actually bigger and more impressive than the advertisement I saw. So just a quick kudos to them. I mean, this thing was the size of a 6-inch dinner plate. My God, it was huge. Well, I guess it should have been for $6.50 for a burger. But anyway, food porn can be a commercial advertisement. It can also be an image somebody takes at a restaurant and then posts and say, hey, you got to go to so and so. This is how their sushi looks or whatever. It's just a really hyped image of food, and your experience may in fact be somewhat different. So that's our terms for this week, and please subscribe and comment. I really appreciate the comments. All of these definitions are ones I've made up, not out of whole cloth, but from my experiences and the people that I talk to, and I do interview people on their use of terms so that I can determine if they're kind of uniform, and very often teens versus millennials versus adults will use a term somewhat differently. And then I do some research and combine the best elements into hopefully a cohesive definition. I can't cover all the details of these subjects, but if you have any stories that are funny or examples that are better than mine, or corrections, maybe you disagree with how I define something, maybe it's too narrow or too broad, please comment. Thanks.